me just a couple minutes to get organized because this has been, what do you call it? A comedy of errors, they call it. I have had nothing but bloopers for the last like 10 minutes trying to go live. So if you'll just give me a second. You had me in a completely different spot, position. I had to move my phone. I was in the garden. The neighbor is popping off. I have no idea what he's shooting at, but it was like right along the property line. So I'm not in my garden today, but hey, happy Thursday. Welcome to my weekly live chat. I just kind of figured it's been one of those weeks. You ever have one of those weeks? Like last week we had an amazing amount of rain, but like every one of my tomato cages was on its side, so I had to fix it. So I was super excited that we got rain, but it's crazy. Now, if you'll give me a second, I need to reposition my camera a little bit because it is so hot out here. Literally, my camera wouldn't work so that YouTube would take it. Hey, hang on. I will get to your questions and your comments and your awesomeness in just a second. Give me a second. Hi. I need to hydrate because it's been an absolutely crazy day. Okay, let me read everybody's comments. Jackie Jack says, literally looking at your website, putting stuff in your cart. Now, awesome. Krista says, are we on yet? We are on. I'm a little late. I apologize. It was mayhem. So we are here finally, though, and it is hot, and I'm excited anyway. Agape Field, Ken Brown, hey, Alan P, hello. Okay, so fall garden prep. You know how crazy it is that it's 100 degrees outside right now in East Texas, and I'm talking about fall garden prep. But you know what? When it's 36 degrees outside, I'm talking about spring and summer prep. So, you know, we're just going to roll with it here. So before I get started, hello everybody and welcome. If you're new to my channel and my live chat, welcome. For those of you regulars, welcome back. We've got my chickens. I've got one rooster left, which I'm going to keep him crowing in the background. So if you hear any nature noises, of course, it's a homestead. There's a lot going on. In the description section of this video, you will find a link to my comprehensive planting guide. Tons of useful information there. Link to seed garlic, which I will get to in just a second. Soil amendments we're going to talk about today, and a couple other things that are super helpful and useful. So we are prepping for garlic. Can I say that again? We are prepping for garlic. I am super excited. Everybody's been asking me, when is my garlic going to ship out? Even though it's posted to the website, we were able to get it shipped out a little bit early so far. So if you pre-ordered your seed garlic, it has already been shipped, or it is on my table to ship out in the morning. By the way, if you have any issues with seeing me or hearing me, let me know. I'll try to make some adjustments. So the big question of the week is, what do you have left? Because we sold out of a bunch of stuff. Krista says we appreciate the nature sounds in the background. Yeah, it's nature-y here. Sorry, I was so flustered trying to get everything set up, and everything was all right, and then nothing was working. Isn't that the way it is, though? So it has been a whirlwind week with garlic. Pausing, drinking my water, staying hydrated, because like I said, it's 100 degrees out here. Jackie Jack says I bought moringa but don't know what to do with it. Not a problem, Jackie Jacks. Check out the comprehensive planting guide in the description section, and there's a link to growing moringa. I've grown it from seed in Florida, in California, and Texas, and it grows fantastic. Okay, so if you pre-ordered seed garlic and it's on the way, a couple things that you need to realize. You need to open your package as soon as you get it. Check it out. It needs to be planted within a decent amount of time. I've had people email me like in June and saying, hey, I've had this in my garage. Can I plant it now? And it's probably like turned to dust by then. So now is the time to get preparing to plant your seed garlic. Now, what do I do to plant my seed garlic? Number one is clear the area of weeds. So we're talking about prepping for fall gardening right now. I've already had a couple videos in the past. A couple weeks ago, I was live and I talked about what I'm planting for fall. So you can go back and see that information as well if you're interested. By the way, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you did pre-order seed garlic and it's already on the way, check your emails. If you have a Gmail account, check your promotions folder. If you have a Yahoo or a Hotmail account, you might have to check your spam folder. And you can always add my email, which is Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds, to your address book, and hopefully you'll get the emails in your regular box. And if you've got any questions, if I don't answer your question while I'm live, you can always send an email to Mary at marysheirloomseeds.com and I will answer. So starting with garlic seed prep, because that's a fall planted variety, you want to clear the area of weeds. Don't spray anything. That's going to inhibit potentially the growth of whatever you're going to be planting. But make sure your area is weed free. For the most part, all root crops, your area should be cleared of weeds because they will compete for space and nutrients in that area. So you really want to have a good clear area when you're planting root crops. And you also want to consider crop rotation. So if you planted garlic in a specific spot last year, don't plant garlic in it this year. Usually the rule of thumb is 3 years for garlic. A little bit of atmosphere. So you do want to make sure that you rotate your crop so that you don't have any diseases that might have affected your garlic, and then you're not having diseases again. Krista says, mine's on the way. Being in Texas, I need to cold stratify the hardneck. Now, Krista, that's very, very good question. You can definitely cold stratify your hardneck. We do get cold enough here that as long as you've got 6 weeks of cold weather, like frost weather, you should be fine. We get a frost in November, but I think we really only get a couple months like January and February that are very, very cold. So it's totally up to you. You can cold stratify. You don't necessarily have to. But that's something you should do. We call it vernalization for garlic. So we give it that natural cold. I love soft neck varieties for Texas because they produce, in my opinion or my experience, they produce better. But I will always plant hard necks because I love the scape. So something to consider. Now, one thing I noticed is I didn't have as large hardneck bulbs this year because I spaced, yes, asking because it's hot here. There are a couple areas that were in ground that were brand new areas, and I didn't add enough nutrients. So garlic is a heavy producer, and that's next on my list of things that we do to prepare, and that is to add soil amendments, especially if you're growing in a brand new area. I use micronized azomite and mountain flower root boost. Those two are also available on my website. If you go down into the description section of this video, there's a link to soil amendments. From now until I think it was October 15th, I sent the information in an email. We have a discount code to save 10% off all soil amendments, and the discount code is Fall Food, and it's one word, all caps, FALLFOOD. So Fall Food, if you want to feed your soil, feed your plants, Fall Food, you can take 10% off all our soil amendments. So those are the two major things that I do to prep for garlic. Because we get cold snaps here, a really good cold snap last year, and so I'm not a huge fan of snow, but Doc loves snow, so if he gets some snow, great. So you want to prep your garlic, prep your soil, most importantly. Sorry, I'm staring at my loofahs and they're really, really pretty. I really wish I could have gone live in the garden. I think For some reason, it got really hot and my camera just wasn't functioning, and that's why I'm here at this brick wall. Oops, sorry. But if you follow me on social media, or if you follow me on, if you're a subscriber on YouTube, tomorrow I'm going to post a bunch of pictures from the garden that I didn't get a chance to show you tonight. And hopefully you'll get to see some of my amazing, I've got okra still. I know it's hot, so some of you, like, you're prepping for freezing weather coming up soon, but I've got amazing southern peas, squash, okra. My loofah is thriving. Tomatoes all over the place. Unfortunately, my cages got knocked over, which made me so sad. So if you did not order seed garlic, but you're still interested in seed garlic, we still have some available. I made notes so I wouldn't forget. We have, for soft neck, we have California late and California early. The late is spicier, so if you're looking for a spicier variety, that's an option for you. We have purple Italian and Nootka Rose, which is a new one for us. And some of those are available in 1 pound options if you really want a lot more garlic than usual. And then for hard necks, for those of you looking to grow some scapes, you've got Bogatir, German Red, Music, Red Chestnut, and Spanish Roja. Now, some of those were previously sold out as of last weekend. So they're now available today. And once what is online is sold out, we will be done for the season. Jackie Jack says, where I wanted to plant my garlic, my peppers are still thriving. Can I put them in containers? It's my first time growing them. So Jackie Jacks, if you have you're in Florida, so you can definitely put them in containers, but they don't transplant very well. You don't necessarily have to plant your garlic until November, even December, depending on your area. So if you have time to figure out where you want to put them, but they definitely grow in containers. So again, I'm going to refer back to it. The Comprehensive Planting Guide, there's a link to the videos I have. I've got one on planting garlic. Oh, you're in Northern California. Sorry about that. I thought you were in Florida for some reason. Well, 9B. So you want to plant before your first frost. So depending on when your first frost is, see, that's why I never go by zones, because zone 9B is completely opposite coast as well. So before your first frost, you should have your garlic put in. So if you want to plant in containers, definitely put it in containers. And like I said, we have videos, and you don't have to go searching for the videos, which is really, really nice. You can use the Comprehensive Planting Guide and then scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you've got a section for potatoes and a section for garlic. And that's got the text version on my website of how to plant, and it also has the videos that I've done. I did one in a raised bed. You can use the same for in ground. And then I did one for containers. So super easy to follow. Now, what are you guys doing in your garden, and what kind of questions do you have for fall prep? I know I've talked about fall and I've talked about prepping your garden, but do you specifically, since you're watching me, do you have any questions about how to prep for fall and what kinds of things you might want to grow that maybe you had trouble with last year and you want to try it again? I mean, we'll say one thing, troubleshooting for garlic. You want to make sure that you have enough space, enough root space if you're planting things, and just for all root crops. So radish, beets, turnips, rutabaga, anything that has a root needs a good enough space to grow those roots. So I usually give them 12 inches. Agape Field says, do you plant cover crops? Yes and no. I do not plant cover crops in my raised beds. I generally just cover them. Typically people will mulch their cover crops, or they will till in their cover crops, and I don't have a way of chop and drop in my raised beds, so I typically cover them and I'm good. Jackie Jack says, I've never done a fall garden, so any info is helpful. I will definitely share that with you. Now, for the in-ground garden, I do cover crops. I love using, hey Elizabeth, thanks for joining us. I love using clover. You can use it as a green manure. You can till it under if you want. It also helps feed the bees. It's one of the earlier producers for bees. So I definitely like planting clover as a cover crop, and it does really well here. One of my videos about rewilding our property was a ton of amazing stuff. We had a ton of cover crops. Specifically, we used the clover, and it did really well. So let's see. Stroke and the Garden says, streaming you from East Carolina, been planting all week. Awesome. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Jania Marie says, never done a fall garden. I have raised bed gardens. Awesome. Well, fall is one of my favorites because it's a little cooler in the garden, and some crops will thrive even with a little bit of a frost. So even if you only have 30 days till your first frost, you still have a couple things that you can do. So kale and turnips are two that can benefit from a light frost. Kind of cool, right? But some of the favorite some of my favorite fall crops are beets, radish, rutabaga, broccoli, cabbage. You've got your choice of Chinese cabbage, or you can do a heading cabbage depending on what time you have. Pak choy and michilihi are two what is listed as Chinese cabbage. So those are super easy to grow. Not everybody likes beets, but I love beets. Literally every type of lettuce that is available at Mary's Heirloom Seeds can be grown in your fall garden. And what you want to do is just want to count back. So I've shared this information before, but if it's helpful for you, I take my first estimated frost date, which for my area is carrots. Absolutely. So my first estimated frost date is November 12th. So you count back how many days you have, and that gives you an idea of how many days that you've got to plant for the seeds you plant to mature. So that's the easiest way of doing it. Carrots are awesome. There's a ton that I didn't get to. Brussels sprouts. You can even plant amaranth if you want the greens for your just as a microgreen. That's super easy. I do onion microgreens. So that's a couple things you can do. Let's see what else. Sorry, I'm blanking right now after all this chaos before my video. Let's see what else. I mentioned broccoli, but the sprouting broccoli is a plus because it matures faster. We were just having this conversation in a seed shop. Early purple sprouting broccoli is a really good one. So there's tons of stuff you can still plant and still have a decent enough harvest. So anybody else have any questions while I'm live? Let me go back and see some of these messages here. If you've got specific questions about these things, you can always send me an email. Like I mentioned earlier, my email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I will answer. Krista says, do you cover your crops during the short, very cold spell, Texas gas? If so, what do you use? I have attempted it on several occasions in Texas, and I have not been as successful as I had hoped. Elizabeth, if you have questions, you can always send me an email. That's totally fine. But I don't necessarily cover everything. So tomatoes, I did not have a very good experience with covering the tomatoes. So just consider that. It really depends on what type of infrastructure you have. So if I had a large structure that I could cover them, I could definitely do it. But I don't have a large structure yet. I am working on that though, so I will have more videos for that. Let's see. Alan says, do you need to cover garlic with above surface growth if you have a frost? The answer to that is no. Garlic is very, very cold tolerant. So if you plant it and you see some green tips pop up, you're totally fine. You can usually leave it. Sometimes the greenery will die off but the bulb underneath the soil, as long as it's planted low enough or deep enough, you're not going to have to worry about that garlic. So it will survive. Generally, I plant my garlic and then I mulch it over and we're good. Let me see some of these messages here. Some of them are held for review and I can't do anything about that while I'm live. So Alan wanted to know if we cover it above the surface growth if you have a frost, and the answer is no. You can, totally fine. But with the space I had last year, which we're expanding, I won't necessarily be able to cover everything. Asia Joe says, I've seen people cover crops with bed sheets. I'm sorry, in hopes to keep direct frost off. I have seen that, absolutely. And I failed the last time I tried that, but I'm going to try it again this year, and I will let you know. I'll check back and let you know. Usually we have a good frost, and that kind of takes out things like tomatoes, squash, peppers, but things like beets and radish, kohlrabi, kale, those can be hit by a frost and still survive, so you don't necessarily have to worry about it. So I'm just scrolling through the messages here. If I missed your question, you can always send me an email. Sometimes the comments are scrolling through so fast I can't get a hold of you too much. Krista says, I've tried cardboard sheets, etc. If the plant touches the ice water, they're done. And that's what happened to me. In Texas, you don't just get a frost. You get crazy winds, sleet, hail, and sometimes it's just too much for what you have covered. And Alan, I tried bed sheets as well, but like I said, it got a little overwhelming for the plants and for my cover, and it didn't quite work. But not to be deterred, I will be trying it again this year. Alrighty, everybody. A couple things that I did this week to help prep for my fall garden. I used fish bone meal. I love fish bone meal. It smelled like a bait shack by the time I was done in the garden, but it's really good stuff. It is lower in nitrogen compared to phosphorus, and phosphorus is really important for root crops and developing flowers on your plants. And of course, we're doing a lot of root crops now, so I added some fish bone meal as well. And that was what I did was I removed all the debris from the bed, from things that were done for the summertime, and then I sprinkled some of that fish bone meal on it, added a top layer of compost that I already had, and then I got started to planting. So that's something you can do. I like fish bone meal because it's not high in nitrogen, but it's a good source of phosphorus, and it's natural. It's from fish, so I'm trying to stay hydrated. It's really hot here. It's 100 degrees. I know I mentioned that earlier. So for those of you who've joined me, I'm almost done with my video chat for tonight. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I try to go live here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. I missed last week, and with the technical difficulties we had in going live earlier today, I almost missed it today. Krista says, do you use fish bone meal with garlic too? Our Mountain Flower Root Boost has fish bone meal in it, but it doesn't have as high of a phosphorus as straight fish bone meal. So if your soil is lacking phosphorus, if your plants were lacking some of those nutrients, definitely add that. So the code for soil amendments is fall food, all one word, all caps, FALLFOOD. You're going to use that at checkout in the box for a discount code. And that'll take 10% off all of our soil amendments, even the ones that are on sale now through October 15th. That's it. I'm super excited that I finally got to go live here, and thank you so much for putting up with this wildness that we had today. A little bit of chaos in the beginning, but we got it all taken care of. So I am Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I'm going to sign off here and go have some dinner and continue to stay hydrated. If you have any questions, please reach out to Mary at marysheirloomseeds.com and I will answer. Check out the description section of this video. You'll find a link to my comprehensive planting guide, seed garlic that's almost sold out, and soil amendments. That's it. All right, everybody, happy Thursday, and thanks so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next week. Subscribe and hit the thumbs up so you can see my next video. Bye, everybody.